Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 296, your weekly get-together where we talk about recent video game news. As always, your host, Tim Brown. Joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, Sony buys Bungie, Dying Light is in the wild, and everything is turning into a TV series. And we also have more little bits of information as well throughout the show. But first, I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching live here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at Twitch TV/GamePoints or later over at YouTube.com/GamePointsPC, please feel free to join the conversation with any questions, comments, concerns you might have. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. David.
Yes.
How have you been? This is the first time we've actually had you on camera for like 3 weeks now.
Better, I guess.
All right. Not nice and calmed down after last week's acquisition talk and the week before that's acquisition talk?
Yeah, I'm ready for some new acquisition talks.
Before we get into that, though, what have you been playing lately? Well, have you seen anything new and exciting you would like to share with the group here?
Oh, man. Okay, I've been playing a bunch of that God of War game.
All right.
Still very, very good. I played a bunch of Buck Up and Drive.
What the hell's Buck Up and Drive?
It's this tiny little like indie kind of endless racing game that it's very old school feeling, but you can do flips, you can grind rails in a car. I don't know, it's very entertaining. It's a lot like some other games. Like it reminds me of the hell was that game that I played a bunch of? Horizon Chase Turbo. There we go. I almost said Zero Dawn.
I was about to say, damn, really? It's an interesting car game.
No. But it's just like a simple arcade racer, and it's fun. And I'm also one of the many, many people that are playing that fucking vampire whatever game on Steam that's real popular right now.
It's a vampire like survival or vampire
something.
Slayer or something.
It's $3 is what it is, Steven.
I saw you playing it earlier today. I should have wrote its name down there. It's vampire something, though. What is that?
Vampire Survivor. Okay, so imagine if Castlevania was a top-down roguelike.
Okay.
Except for all you control is movement.
Vampire Survivor. So it's just constantly attacking on its own?
Yes. So the different weapons have their own attack patterns.
Okay, I'm looking at the trailer for it right now. I like how it says "Be the bullet hell." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so basically you are trying to get different weapons that have different like firing arcs or firing patterns so that you can keep your character alive. Like, for example, if you get the knife, it throws a knife in the direction your character is facing. Okay. And on cooldown, that's all it does. But that means that you can throw it in eight different directions. Then there's items like the whip, which only hits to the right and left in you. There's the axe that hits up and down. There's the fireball, which throws at a random enemy. There's a bunch of different shit. And like any good roguelike, you'll find power-ups, and then eventually your stuff will become completely ridiculous. And then, yes, your character is basically a bullet hell shooting all this various crap in all directions while you're trying to kill, demons and monsters and whatever else to stay alive. But it very much, like I said, I don't joke too much when I say the Castlevania thing because the default character looks like a Belmont.
Okay.
And starts with a whip. And like you get a character that looks like Alucard and like starts with a fireball.
It very clearly is wearing, I'm looking at the trailers and promo art for now. It's very clearly wearing its inspiration.
Yeah, there's like crosses and holy books and all this other stuff. So it definitely has an inspiration. But again, there's not a whole lot of like interactivity. All you control is movement. And then as you kill enemies, they drop little experience bubbles. You pick up the experience bubbles and then spend those to either unlock new abilities, like new items, or to upgrade the stuff you have.
Okay. It is only $3 right now. It looks like one of those games that you can definitely just, if you're bored and you want to waste like a little bit of time to get into it. It looks like it's in early access as well. And
the longest I think you can play it in a sitting is 30 minutes.
Okay.
Because I was in a session that lasted 30 minutes and my build was completely overpowered to the point where I was able to just stand in one place and just kill anything that was walking on screen.
All right.
And then as soon as I hit the 30 minutes mark, fucking the Grim Reaper showed up and just iced me. And it said stage complete. So, I got that going.
Hey, at least it said stage complete, right?
Yeah.
Much like you, I've been doing a bunch of smaller stuff and going through the old catalog. And as I've mentioned a couple times before, I've been making my way through Red Dead Redemption 2. Finally finished that up over the weekend after 80 hours.
Congrats. That game is
Uh,
very long, but how'd you enjoy that ending?
so I knew in advance what happens to the protagonist. This
Because you
game's
played
old
the
now.
first game.
Well, yeah, because he's not there anymore. I knew how Arthur was going to die. Sorry, spoilers for a game that's like 2 or 3 years old at this point.
Spoiler for a prequel to a game that's like a decade old.
Uh, what I didn't expect, however, was just watching the slow disintegration of the Vanderlyn game and Vanderlyn
Oh
gang,
yeah.
and actually making me give one goddamn about these people. And I just feel bad now for everyone I was murdering in Red Dead Redemption 1.
Right?
They
The
were a
second
family
game,
at one time.
the second game legitimately makes the first game better.
Yes, and that's rare to say. But you actually see how this was a family at one time.
Yep.
Uh, there were so many amazing moments in that game just from a cinematic standpoint, like the ride to Braithwaite Manor when they take Jack and you just go to, it's all misty and the moon's coming over and you just have like that line of people ready to fuck up this Hicks day. Or like Arthur's final ride to confront Dutch and Micah for the last time, as like they have the narration playing over and that song's playing. There are so many of those amazingly beautifully shot, which I don't say that about video games too often, but these
It is
are
cinematic as all
just
hell.
beautiful moments in that game, and I am upset that I took this long to get to it, but glad that I finally did.
Yeah, the Red Dead Redemption 2 is the absolute pinnacle of like AAA in that game is overdeveloped as hell and it's got all the hallmarks of like traditional AAA development except for it actually fucking earns it.
Yes, I 100% agree.
Like it's not a AAA Call of Duty or a AAA Madden or a AAA. No, it's like a fucking work of art. It's insane.
If I had to say one thing about it is that game felt like it should have ended multiple times and just kind of kept going on to the point that by the time the epilogues hit, I was kind of getting very tired of playing the game.
That's fair.
I was like, okay, I get what's going on here.
Well,
Wrap
and
it up.
it's even longer when you factor in how much open worldness it has to it, right?
Yeah. Well, I
There's
could I'm talking from like just a narrative point of view. I could separate the open world. I'm spending 50 hours out hunting. I could separate that from this plot, the story of the game.
got it.
I think the story, like the two epilogues, while it's nice to kind of see where everyone went up, and they're also paying homage to the first game where you kind of went back to a mundane life for like 3 or 4 missions.
Mm.
I still felt like that dragged a little bit. That would be my only complaint with the narrative of that game. Beyond that, though, everything else is just amazing. I was in awe of that game when I was finished.
It's just kind of funny. This week on GamePoints, we recommend Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War.
Yeah. I get it, but
Oh.
now is the time to clear out the backlog.
Yeah,
Because
I think it's more important that we're not recommending the old games that we're playing. We're recommending that you go back and play old games that maybe
Yes.
you had an interest in or
Because
that you never got around to.
after this week, I don't think we're going to have that chance anymore with the stuff coming out. So at least I won't. You wait 6 months before you play anything new to begin with. David,
I know I buy like one new game a year, and mine's coming real soon.
let's what is that going to be, by the way, out of curiosity?
Do you need to actually guess?
Is it going to be Elden Ring?
Yeah, of course it's Elden Ring.
I actually forgot Elden Ring was coming out in a couple weeks. I was like, it can't be Horizon. He doesn't have a PlayStation 5. Maybe it's Gran Turismo. No, it's the same thing. He doesn't have a... So, yeah, I actually forgot Elden Ring was like 2 or 3 weeks away. Anyways, let's move on to the news here. Arguably, I mean, hands down, the biggest story of the week.
But not of the decade.
But not of the decade, no.
It's been usurped.
It's not even the biggest news of the month,
Right.
which shows you how fucked up this month has been. This is via GamesIndustry.biz, but you can find headlines all over the place. I just like they're right up on the best. Sony is buying Bungie for $3.6 billion.
Which is a little over half of what Microsoft pays for Bethesda, and, less than a tenth of what they paid for Activision Blizzard.
To the article itself. Sony Interactive Entertainment announced a deal to acquire Bungie for $3.6 billion in the latest string of big-ticket consolidation deals in the games industry. After the deal closes, Bungie will be, quote, an independent subsidiary of SIE run by a board of directors consisting of the current CEO and chairman Pete Parsons and the rest of the studio's current management team. In a quote from Jim Ryan, the first thing to say unequivocally is that Bungie will stay an independent multi-platform studio and publisher. Pete and I have spoken about many things over the recent months, and this is one of the first and actually easiest and most straightforward conclusions we reached together. Everybody wants the extremely large Destiny 2 community, whatever platform they're on, to be able to continue to enjoy their Destiny 2 experiences. And that approach will apply to future Bungie releases. That is unequivocal. Bungie will operate autonomously within Sony Interactive Entertainment organization, and they will continue to publish on other platforms. We also get the importance of this. We have grown studios organically, but we've also made a number of acquisitions over the years, whether it's Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, Sucker Punch Productions, and the most recently Insomniac. We understand how important it is to give these great organizations the space and independence while bolstering that with a great support when and where that's needed. When asked about future acquisitions in Sony's future, Ryan did say, quote, we absolutely expect more. We are by no means done. With PlayStation, we have a long way to go, end quote. This is, of course, on the heels of Take-Two buying Zynga for roughly $12.7 billion on January 11th, and Microsoft's massive Activision buy of Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion not even a week ago. What is your immediate take on this, David?
First, gut reaction, it's kind of funny because it's Sony buying Bungie, which is not an Xbox studio any longer, but you know, they're the guys that made Halo once upon a time, which is the franchise that made the Xbox famous, so that's kind of a silly thing. But how long ago were we talking about when Xbox bought Rare, which was a huge deal for Nintendo? So it doesn't, I don't know. It's just studios buying studios. It's just a great consolidation game. It's just proud to be one of video game 6 companies. It's just more of the bullshit.
I also think it's kind of funny that Bungie just recently fled Activision with their publishing deal not too long ago, and Activision got bought up by Microsoft. So I would have been curious to see how that would have worked out with Bungie if they were still part of that Activision deal they previously had.
I do like how much he doubled down on leaving Bungie like open to do its own thing. So I'm kind of hoping that Bungie gets like the way Respawn is treated at Activision, where they're kind of just their own guys and they do their thing and they've got a lot of leeway. That would be ideal.
Wilson's Corner in chat, thank you for showing up, by the way. Wilson says, I love how Sony's reaction to Microsoft buying Blizzard, Activision, and Bethesda is to have an open relationship with Bungie. And that's kind of what you're touching on there, David, is they were very clear up front to say, hey, we are going to maintain multi-platforms with Bungie games and all future Bungie games. Now,
which we don't expect from any of the Xbox purchases. We already know that Bethesda games are going to be going the way of the Xbox and the PC. We fully expect Call of Duty to do it in the next 4 years. Right. So it's interesting, I guess.
It is, and would not necessarily be unheard of because Minecraft, which is now 100% owned by Microsoft now, is still appearing on PlayStation consoles. And that Minecraft Dungeons game, I also believe, was also on PlayStation. Certain franchises, regardless of who owns them, will still appear on multiple platforms.
Everything. Yeah.
I will point out, it should be noted that the very first thing every interview with Jim Ryan or Pete Parsons has been them saying, this will stay multi-platform and Bungie will be independent.
Yeah. That is the biggest deal because from all of the releases that we had with Xbox, especially if we go back to the recent acquisition stuff and then further back to the Bethesda stuff, it was all of the contracts in place will remain in place. And that's kind of the way they left it. And
they're very ambiguous with they're saying by not saying, yeah, this shit's going to go exclusive.
Exactly. And so this, to me, is exciting. It's refreshing. It's hey, guess what? We're not going to fuck over everybody because of, the fact that we're buying this studio. So this is a better announcement, in my opinion, than the Activision Blizzard one. One, it's a much smaller studio with much less reach. And I don't know. Like I don't see a huge impact
I
if this stays the way that they're putting it out on paper.
I do want to say, just for clarity's sake, Sony is not doing this out of the goodness of their own heart.
No, of course
Destiny
not.
lives and dies on its online community, which is currently split across every single platform right now. To disrupt that is to potentially kill the very game you just bought.
Yeah, that makes sense. Of course. And who knows what we're gonna see for, future Bungie releases if, maybe future Destiny games will be multi-platform, but if they ever think of something else, then maybe that won't. We don't know.
I would also be willing to bet Bungie probably has something in their contract very similar to what they had with Activision, which, I mean, I'm assuming, anyways, given how they were able to keep Destiny, that they can just terminate the partnership with Sony, pay a kill fee, and go, we're independent again.
Maybe.
This, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think the main reason why Sony ended up buying Bungie was because of their experience with live service games, because they can now tap that talent to go, how do we make the all but confirmed upcoming Last of Us 2 factions, whatever their online mode is, how can we make that into a live service game? How can we bring these other things to our other titles that are out there?
How can we avoid Marvel's Avengers?
How can we put Battle Pass in all of our upcoming franchises without necessarily pissing everyone off? Furthermore, Sony has been trying to bring all of their disparate divisions into one umbrella. So for the longest time, Sony Music was very independent from Sony Pictures, which was very independent from PlayStation, which led to some hilarious things where a PlayStation event would play something from Sony's music catalog, and Sony Music would copyright strike PlayStation.
Yeah, that's funny.
They are trying to remedy that by merging it all together at the top. So there's like one guiding hand. I think they called it like the one Sony vision.
Yeah.
This gives Destiny 2, which has a shit ton of lore, a dense backstory, a very well thought out universe. This gives them a foot in the door to create a Destiny TV series or movie, and that is something that so many games are becoming. It's going to be one of our stories later on, is the televisation of video games. And I do think that Sony is very keen on that, which is why you're seeing the Uncharted movie, the Last of Us series, the Twisted Metal series, etc. They want to
they own a picture studio, so why not?
Exactly. I do think that's another reason why they bought Destiny, is so they can have access to that IP and start bringing it to other mediums than video games.
Though this takes me back to a very, very pain-induced, mildly drug-addled David from a few weeks ago, in that the Microsoft Activision acquisition is, well, not necessarily a sign of the end times, as I'd put it so eloquently then, a big deal, in that it's kind of opened the floodgates, because Activision Blizzard was the single largest third-party publisher in the games industry, period. There's no one bigger than them.
Like Tencent. Tencent was way bigger, but they're kind of their own entity.
I mean, sure, if you wanna do that, but I guess I'll focus it on American.
As far as like what people are familiar with.
Yes. Right. I'll put American studios, or even American and Japanese studios, because
let's just say they were big enough that it was impossible to think that they could get bought.
Yes. And what this means, and what we're going to see over the next couple of months, is that literally no one is safe. Everyone is on the table.
To the point where
every single company is, or probably will be snatched up by somebody else.
To drive that point home there, David.
It's what happened to the tech industry. It's gonna fucking suck.
To drive that point home there, David, Jeff Keighley has recently tweeted the following. Have heard from multiple people. As you might expect, there are a few other big video game deals in the final stages of negotiations. It's going to be an interesting year. I don't think Sony wanted to announce this so quickly, by the way. I think Sony was good.
We also know that this announcement may be reactionary, but the purchase sure as fuck isn't. They've been working on this for months.
6 months, I think, is what they said. But I do believe the announcement is reactionary. What I think the original plan was for Sony to hold... I'm convinced Sony is going to hold a state of play, not the Gran Turismo one, which is tomorrow, but like a general state of play within the next 4 weeks. and they were going to announce all this shit that they bought, including whatever Keeley here is hinting at, and whatever Ryan said earlier about PlayStation buying more stuff. But they had to respond because their stock dropped so hard.
I still think this sucks. I don't love every company becoming one company. We've had that discussion ad nauseum, so I don't need to deal with it. But the one company that I would actually be happy to see Sony snatch up is fucking Konami.
I don't think they're going to Konami. I think they're going to do Capcom.
I don't think so. Like, I really doubt that they'll pick up the one company that I think deserves to get bought out.
The thing with Konami is buying them would mean investing in a bunch of things Sony has, I don't want to say necessarily has no interest in, but Konami doesn't make their money from the video games. They make their money from their slot machines and their health clubs. So Konami would come with a lot of weight, a lot of fat that Sony wouldn't necessarily be into. The hot rumor is, and everyone's kind of teasing it, the people who are in the know seem to be dropping hints that they're going to be buying Capcom in the next couple of weeks, or at least announcing that they've bought Capcom. That makes sense. Sony has the Street Fighter V exclusivity on there. Sony was hosting the Capcom Cup at their PlayStation experience for years. Sony and Capcom have already have a very strong relationship. It makes total sense for them to be picking up Capcom. My gut says we'll know about that by March. Like I said, I'm 100% convinced they wanted to do a state of play that was just announcement after announcement after announcement. Where we get the Bungie announcement, the Capcom, the supposed Capcom announcement, and then they'll tell us whatever the hell Spartacus is, and they'll give some PlayStation VR details, and then we'll see what's coming up for the next year of Sony. I think they wanted to do that, but the Microsoft Activision news was so massive, it actually dropped Sony's stock like 5% over that day. They needed to have something. And once again, to reiterate, it's not like they went overnight and went, shit, we got to buy Bungie right now. No, this deal was 6 months in the work. They just needed to announce it earlier than I think they wanted to.
That's fair.
But yeah,
I'm going to stick with this news sucks, much like the last big news and the other big news and all of the big news that we've had thus far this year. Because you know the one thing that we actually haven't really touched on that's going to be the result, that I guarantee that will be the result of all these acquisitions?
What is that?
Fuck off tons of layoffs. Because if you have a company buy another company,
redundancy is a thing.
Yes. So a shit ton of people in the games industry are going to be let go. And that's just going to happen.
I do want to address chat here real quick. They're saying, as a Destiny fan, Sony and Bungie have a history of exclusive content such as exclusive missions, weapons, cosmetics, etc., like the Spider-Man DLC for the Avengers game, as an example. They bring up a good point in that Sony could still put stuff on Microsoft games, but while simultaneously saying, hey, if you want this extra strike, though, you got to come to our console to play it.
Yeah,
however,
that makes sense.
However, that is already the norm.
Yeah, they're already paying the money to do that. They just won't have to pay as much for it.
Mm-hmm. That's already kind of the norm to begin with, so I don't see anything changing. You'll be just as frustrated knowing that this strike is on Sony console and not being able to play it when Bungie was independent than as you will knowing that they're owned by Sony now. Like, there's no difference. Unless they finally go, it's never coming. Because typically those things would migrate over to the other stuff after a year.
It's a 6 month or a year exclusive thing.
Yeah. Which is, I think they'll keep that going still. I think you'll still see some exclusives there too. Timed exclusives, to be clear. David, this is only week. We're just now the first month of February, and we've had three major...
The first month of February? Man, I can't handle this here.
Yeah, this is the first week of February. We've already had three massively industry-shaking news acquisitions drop, and this is not the end of it. Because one thing that you can say the pandemic did, what COVID did, is when it forced everyone to work from home and delayed all the schedules, it made companies feel the pinch. And when companies feel the pinch, they get bought. So
what pinch? The games industry made more money in the last 2 years than it ever fucking has. There is no goddamn pinch.
You can say that, but everything got delayed. Stuff has hurt. Stuff has been hammered. Stuff is hammered. I get what you mean by when you say the games industry has made more money than it ever did, but it's not based on what it was. That's why stock has dropped on a lot of these things. That's why things are going for like quick sales. That's why people are like, okay, we haven't produced anything for a year. We might have made a lot of money, but we're not making on track what we should have. It puts people in precarious positions. It makes people more open to be gobbled up.
They were going to get gobbled up regardless.
Perhaps. I also don't share the same doom and gloom that you do about this topic either. Not to get too deep into it. I don't think it's a good thing, but I also look at it and go, new talent will rise back up. You will have either the grass gets cut, and then other stuff will come up in its place. I do have that kind of mentality about it because I don't think this is a zero-sum game. I don't believe in the one megacorp owning everything because that only accounts for a closed system. Game development is not a closed system.
Yeah, I just don't like the way it goes. But I guess it doesn't really matter because it's all just names, and all the good devs are making indie studios anyway. So what are you gonna do?
That's also my stance on it. I've played way more great indie games than I played great AAA games over the past 5 years.
Yeah, I think the problem is that it's a little bit of like a rose-tinted glasses, and that I like a lot of these companies that, yes, they may be AA or AAA companies at this point, but I still remember them from the fucking 90s. So I still think of them as,
yeah, it feels
a company
like they're
that
violating
like
your childhood.
Yes. And so it's all just getting snatched up and yada yada.
And
but
we have
in the
seen
scheme of theme, it's just all fucking bloat and bullshit anyway.
We have seen
Who knows
what happens too. Like take no further of a look than Star Wars. If you want to talk about a franchise that's been thrown in dirt, I get that, I understand that. But remember, while we both love Transformers didn't exist to make us happy. Transformers existed to sell us toys, even when we were young.
Yeah, but the toys made me happy, dog.
Understandable. Rocco, yeah.
26.
But you still
only
got
26.
You still have more coming up. Speaking of coming up there, David, why don't you go ahead and lead us on to this next topic here?
In a story from Video Games Chronicle, Dying Light 2 is in the wild, but Techland is asking players to wait for the day one patch. Man, video games are weird. In an update on Twitter, the studio requested that those who have managed to obtain copies of the game early wait until its official February 4th release date to play it. The game is incomplete in its current state. Wait, what, didn't it go gold, Steven? What?
Yeah, I know. I fucking
the
hate
studio
that
claim.
term now.
But it will be updated
nothing.
later this week with a day one patch. Techland tweeted, "Fellow survivors, we see that some of you got access to the retail copies of Dying Light 2 before the release date. It's this Friday, only 3 days left. We understand you want to start exploring the city ASAP, and we couldn't be happier. That being said, we kindly ask you to wait until February 4th, as by that time you'll also get access to all improvements and fixes we've implemented within last week's and will introduce with the day one patch. That's the way to experience Dying Light 2 the way it's meant to be played." So just remember, game's going gold doesn't mean shit. That game's not done until you get that day one patch. So if you're currently playing Dying Light 2 and it's a buggy mess or something, don't worry, they'll patch it for you.
I hate
if you
this
if you
idea
actually
of...
buy physical games though and you don't have an internet connection, guess what? You're fucked, because that's how video games are made these days.
I hate this. I loathe this idea of saying a game has gone gold and then saying there's a day one patch. That means nothing to me. That term means fucking nothing. That said, the main reason why I wanted to address this story, because we've done the what does going gold mean bit to death. To where
we made fun of it like a week ago.
Yeah. The main thing I want to bring up is that does mean that the entire game is out in the wild. So if you're concerned about story spoilers or you want to go in completely blind, just be highly aware.
Maybe mute Dying Light from your social feeds or whatever.
Yeah. I can't see Dying Light 2 having like an amazing story. Its ending getting spoiled isn't going to do as much damage as, say, The Last of Us 2 getting leaked in its entirety before it came out. But still, be aware. It's out there. So just take your standard precautions on the internet. David, the news that kind of excites me a little bit because I absolutely love this franchise. This is via Gamatsu. Supermassive Games trademarks 5 new Dark Pictures titles.
5.
Now,
have they released 5 thus far? Or
3.
Is it just 4? Or
3.
3 this
And I'm excited for this because the original deal with Bandai Namco was that they were going to make 8 Dark Pictures games.
Okay.
But after the most recent one, it ends with a teaser, as they tend to end with a teaser of their next upcoming game.
Yes.
And this was supposed to be The Devil Inside Me, I think, and it said like season 1 finale or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I got somewhat concerned that they were just going to end the season at that point and that they won't be producing anymore. Because it's not like these games are big sellers or anything like that. They are your equivalent of a cheap VHS B movie direct to video from the mid 90s horror movie.
But they're pretty cool.
But I love
And
those.
they've got branching stories, and they're pretty neat. They're
However,
kind of visual novelty in that
Mhm.
there's not a ton of gameplay. Like there is some, right? You're still running around, you're still interacting with things. It's kind of an adventure-y game, but not as much, right?
If you think of the Quantic Dream stuff or Until Dawn, you'll have an exact idea of how these play.
There you go.
So, of the 5 trademarks on here, we have Dark Pictures, The Craven Man, which has a logo that looks a little bit Wicker Man-y. Dark Pictures presents Oh Death. Presents in question marks, the one that says presents on there, and it seems to be focused on the curator. This could be like a behind-the-scenes thing, by the way, if I had to guess why it's Dark Pictures Presents. Or it could be finally delving into who the curator is. The curator is this Rod Serling-esque figure that kind of narrates and shepherds the player through each story, and he's the common link between them all. So I'd be very curious to see if the story is about who he is, which would be
That'd
awesome.
be pretty neat. Yeah, for sure.
But it could also just be a
He's a great character with a great voice.
Voiced by Pip Torrens. Dark Pictures, Directive 8020. This looks to be sci-fi-ish. The 0 in 80 is like a moon with a skull in it. The Dark Pictures Intercession, the logo for that has like some Knights Templar, vampire, Catholic writing vibes to it. And then finally, the Dark Pictures Winterfold, which seems to be a street sign in a suburban town. Now, my idea behind the Oh Death being a documentary is because, remember what I said at the beginning, they were contracted to do 8 games.
Yes.
They've released 3. They've announced The Devil Within Me. If you count these 5, that's 9.
Yes.
So
maybe one of them is a side story or a different thing.
Which is why you have this Dark Pictures Presents logo on there, kind of making things different.
It looks different. It has a different title. It's the only one that stands out. That all makes sense.
Also, Oh Death is the theme song to these Dark Pictures movies. The metal track that plays at the beginning is Oh Death.
Fun.
So it's either going to be about the curator or a documentary. I want it to be about the curator. It's probably going to be a documentary. But I am excited for this because I thought this series was just going to be dead when I saw end of season 1. I was like, oh shit, they're done. I like them. Looking forward to it.
Cool. Something else you can look forward to, and a story from Video Games Chronicle, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is planned for reveal this year, the producer confirms. This is, man, this isn't even a trailer of a teaser. This is an announcement of what
this
could
is
potentially
be excited levels of
hey, shit. Everybody, just to let you know, we're going to make that video game that that we're making.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking during the anniversary event held to celebrate Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary in Japan, Final Fantasy VII's original director, Yoshinori Kitase, said it was his intention to reveal the first details on its remake sequel during the anniversary year. Quote, "We are hard at work on Final Fantasy VII Ever Crysis, so please look forward to that. In addition, with regards to the long-awaited Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, there will be more information this year if we can," he said, in a translation for Video Games Chronicles provided by Push Dustin. Few details have been revealed on the FF7 Remake Part 2 thus far, other than confirmation last year that Naoki Hamaguchi, the co-director of FF7 Remake Part 1, will take over full directing duties for the follow-up as Tetsuya Nomura takes on a broader creative director position. Nomura has also said that compared to last year's integrated re-release, that Part 2 will make more use of the PS5's unique hardware features. We still have no idea how many of these games will be. We don't know how long this one's going to be. We don't know when it's going to come out. We don't even know when it's going to be announced. But everyone, please get excited right now because they are definitely still working on it, probably.
They might give us more information this year if they can.
As we mentioned when fucking 7 Remake came out, do not expect this game anytime in the next 2 years.
No, this smacks of 2024, if not later. Which, honestly, I'm kind of fine with, but it does get to the point where 7 Remake will be in desperate need of a remake itself by the time they're finished up with all this.
Well, I mean, with the way everything's fucking remade at this point, games can't be more than 3 years old without getting a remake anymore, and it's kind of obnoxious.
I'm hoping they can crank them out a little bit faster now that the groundwork has been laid, now that the system has been established, now that you have, like, the models done up. I'm hoping turnaround is faster, but this is Square Enix we're talking about.
Yeah, it won't be that fast. My only worry is that every single one of these games, you had 7 Remake came out on PS4, and then the re-release of that came out on PS5, and so we're gonna get 7 Part 2 on PS5, and then the re-release of that on PS5 Pro, and then Part 3 will probably be on PS6.
At the rate of speed they're going, that is a possibility. So
I'm just gonna wait for like the PS8 version where I can get all of them together and they're all remastered and they all look the same.
Yeah, back for that retro release of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, I'll play 7 Remake sometime in the 2030s.
I am no longer as worried about this as I once was. I remember being somewhat worried that the Final Fantasy VII Remake couldn't do it justice, and then it came out and went, okay, that's actually really fucking good. Without getting to spoilers, because this is still a relatively new game, I have this theory about what's going on, and it makes me excited to play the other ones to see if I'm right or not. And I'll take that off stream if you want to know. I don't know if you're a big Final Fantasy VII guy, or if you've played the remake yet or not.
Never played the remake. I played the other one.
Okay.
And yes, I know everyone's telling me I need to play the remake anyway, but fuck you. I'm waiting for the PS8 version.
Yeah, if you want to wait for them all, there's a reason why I haven't played
for your game to be done before I play it. Thank you very much.
That's the same reason why I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 beyond 30 minutes, just to see if it was something I would enjoy. I went, yep, this looks great. I'm going to wait for it to fully come out. And I haven't touched that game since.
Yeah, I kind of just want this whole thing to come out because as it stands, it's not a video game.
David, not to be outdone with ambiguous tell nothing announcements, Crytek got involved and said, hey, Crysis 4 is coming.
Yes. Like, and literally, they posted it like on their website or like a YouTube video, and that was it, right?
Yeah, it was just like 30 minutes of some pistoning, like hexagons, it's the Crysis suit, like activating. But there's no we don't even know its name because Crysis 4 is a placeholder title. That's not what I bring this story up. I bring this story up because I want to talk about Crytek.
Okay.
Crytek over the years has become a game that made one of the most cutting-edge PC games. In fact, it was a meme for the longest time. Back before memes even really existed.
Can you run Crysis?
Can you run Crysis?
Yeah.
That series has kind of fallen off by the wayside of the past few years. It's gotten kind of progressively more mediocre as it's gone on.
What's funny is I never heard anybody that was excited about the gameplay of Crysis. The only thing that mattered about Crysis is how much it made computers cry.
The first Crysis, if you were able to run it on a computer that could handle it pretty well, was pretty goddamn amazing and turned into a very amazing game at the end specifically.
Okay.
Because what happens is, once again, spoilers for a game that's 10 plus years old now. You're in an advanced suit. You're on an island with North Korean forces. You're fighting a bunch of North Korean forces. Turns out there's aliens under this island, and they come up and they start wasting the U.S. forces, the North Korean forces, and you. So the end of this game becomes a 3-way clusterfuck between aliens blasting the North Koreans and you're fighting the North Koreans, and the U.S. is there. Some of the final levels in that game did things that I never experienced in a game before.
Interesting.
As far as just all the shit going on. It looks dated now, but remember at the time.
My computer couldn't run it back then, so I just never played it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure now you can play this game on Switch.
Yeah, I think they did a remastered of it recently. That's not what we're here for, though. I'm not here to wax product about Crysis. I'm here to talk about Crytek specifically. A company that once had a name and now is just seemingly... There is something unseemly about this company now, David.
Unseemly?
Remember how we were talking about Crytek just wasn't paying their employees for a couple of months?
Oh, shit, that's right.
Remember how Crytek almost was bought by Tencent? And there was this big conundrum about how they might be giving up state secrets for the British government because they were doing, like, alleged military contracting for them?
Okay, yeah. I forgot all of this crazy shit.
Yeah. That's what I want to bring up here. There's something fucking... And what has Crytek done to still keep them in business? They haven't done shit in a long time other than remaster Crysis.
I mean, do people still use the CryEngine?
I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. I don't even know if they license CryEngine. But just... for those of you who are excited about Crysis 4, be aware that Crytek itself is a very shadowy company at this point, and I don't necessarily trust them.
They made Hunt Showdown.
Oh, no shit. That's popular. Yeah. I didn't know they made that. That's popular. I still don't trust them. There's been a
Also,
lot
those
of shady shit around Crytek.
both of those Homefront games were on their engine.
Yeah, well, Dam Buster Studios, the guys that made that second
There's a bunch of
Homefront game.
stuff on. There's a bunch of stuff on VR that uses their engine. So like their engine is still being used at
Yeah,
least.
I believe Dam Buster Studios, who are the guys I think that made Homefront 2, The Resistance. I could be getting my wires crossed here, by the way, so don't hold me to this. I think they were made up of a bunch of ex-Crytek employees who just stopped getting paid one day. So I don't trust this company for shit. They're not like 10-cent levels of Fear and Loathing just because of their size, because they're relatively tiny. But I would be highly suspect of anything that Crytek publishes or puts out. Because
Fair enough.
Who the hell knows? All right, David, hurt me.
I got one for you in a story from Gamatsu. PlayStation RPG Shadow Madness coming to PC on February 15th. That's just 2 weeks away, my friend.
There's no fucking God.
Publishers Pico Interactive and Bleem and developer Crave Entertainment will release the turn-based RPG Shadow Madness for PC via Steam on February 15th, the companies have announced. Shadow Madness first launched on the PlayStation 1, mind you, all the way back in June of 1999 in North America and February in the year 2000 in Europe.
Are
you excited to play Shadow Madness?
One of the worst RPGs I have ever played.
Shadow Madness! Everybody run out and play Shadow Madness.
It was god-awful. I know I have mentioned this on the stream a couple of times. This is up there with like Beyond the Beyond as far as shit RPGs go. And I will always have this moment seared in my head. Because this game came on 2 discs. And the load times were atrocious to begin with. I very distinctly remember it saying it was loading. Like something happened, it started loading. And I waited 4 minutes. I started counting down how long these load times were because I was like, is my PlayStation frozen? No, this game just takes fucking forever. 4 minutes pass and it goes pop in disc 2. I go, okay. And I pop in disc 2 and wait another 4 minutes for the game to load. And then I go, the discs were between the 2 different worlds. So the top world was like disc 1, the bottom world was like disc 2. I go do what I need to do in the bottom world, which takes less than 30 seconds. I turn this thing in, and it goes, okay, go back to here. I'm like, okay. And then I immediately, after 30 seconds, turn around to go back to the light world. It says, loading. Another 4 minutes pass. I put in the first disc. Another 4 minutes passed. I go talk to the dude in the top world, and he sends me immediately back down to the bottom world again. That means in 20 minutes, I played 1 minute of gameplay, and that was just for me to go from point A to point B. No encounters. No real talking, because they just say, thanks, now give this letter back to so-and-so.
You had to do a fetch quest, but you had to change discs twice to do it.
Yeah, not only did it make me wait 16 minutes total, but it made me get the fuck up twice.
I wanted to take a moment and flash back fucking 22 years. And I just want to read this closing excerpt from the GameSpot Shadow Madness review released on May 2nd, 2000.
Okay.
Shadow Madness is a decent story shrouded by years of bad decisions. As painful as it is to say so, seeing Graveyard disband after threats of a Shadow Madness sequel almost seems like a good thing. Shadow Madness is a curiosity and a cautionary tale of development for the ages and should remain little more than that. Coming soon to your PC.
This Shadow Madness. So there are certain games.
Okay, I know numbers don't matter, and we don't believe in like review scores in the traditional sense, but this shit got a 4 when it came out. Who decided they wanted to bring it back?
There are some games that are bad, but in a good way. Like Deadly Premonition is one of those games I think of. My Beloved Disaster Report's one of those games I think of.
Well, and we've talked about that. There's a shit ton of games that score like 5s and 6s that are my favorite video games.
Yeah.
Like, because maybe they're niche titles or they just do one specific thing that's not for everybody. But sometimes games are just not great.
This goes beyond that and is just dog shit. This doesn't even have the kitschy like full motion video craze that we're getting all these like FMV games republished at Ground Zero Texas and Night Trap and Double Switch stuff like that. This doesn't even fall into that category. This is just bad. Why?
Yeah. Here's the crazy thing. nowhere in the press release does it say that it's being remastered. Is this just a straight PC port of a 22-year-old game? Because I didn't see the word remastered in this article. Did you, Steven?
No, I didn't.
Right? Now that I point that out, you did not see anywhere that they're making any kind of improvements to this video game.
That means those load times are still technically going to be 4 minutes long.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I might have to get this just to see.
Yeah. Install it on NVMe, too, just so you can make those load times speedy and see if it changes your whole experience. At least you'll never have to get up.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they said, now get a glass of water or something. It uses your webcam to know that if you have to stand up or some shit.
It's like a forced intermission in the game you cannot interact with for like 6 minutes.
Yeah. It's like
they won't even let you alt tab.
If we detect any movement on the mouse at all, it resets that timer.
Oh my! Wilson's Corner says, "I hope they keep a disk changing mechanic. Lotate game file 2." It's like
just to piss me off to click through folders.
The game installs in random folders in your computer, and you have to go figure it out. Oh man!
Oh Jesus! We have a couple more. We have one more. Like, it's a series of stories.
This is a story that is a couple of stories, but
right.
It's all under one arc, I guess.
That banner is something I alluded to earlier, and that's how every video game is becoming a TV show. Because in the past week, we've had 3 major video game TV related events. The first one, we finally got that Halo Viserys drop for Paramount Plus. Now, did you watch this thing?
Nope.
Okay, that's going to make this discussion really hard, David. I just want you to know that. They dropped this trailer on here, and I every time I got excited about something immediately happened that kind of sucked the energy out for me. This really reeks of that Netflix Cowboy Bebop adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving me the same vibes, and I'm highly concerned about it. There's a lot of memes going around about Cortana because she's CG'd in and looks almost human to where it's like uncanny valley levels of disturbing, but she's not really all that blue. So it's not really Cortana. It looks like there's a human antagonist on this that might be in control of the Flood, but we don't fucking know. Now, to their credit, they did say, hey, this is not a retelling of Halo. This is like a weird splinter universe. So they get to do whatever they want with it.
They're doing the thing that when every video game was becoming a movie, they didn't do. Where before we would just get a trailer for a thing, and it's that thing you've loved forever coming to a major motion picture. And then it's completely shits on a franchise we knew and love. Now it's coming to your television. We're going to completely shit on a franchise you know and love, but we're telling you up front that it's in a slightly different universe. You can't be mad at it. Literally any creative decision we make because we told you up front that we were going to ruin it.
I'm actually fine with that, believe it or not, because it's the J.J. Abrams thing with his Star Trek thing. He literally added the one line of dialogue that went, oh, by the way, this isn't Star Trek as you know it. This is an alternate timeline kind of Star Trek. So I was like,
but then,
at least they explained
he like fucking time traveled, tied it into the original, and so it was still great. Except for, the fact that he made it.
I actually did like that first Star Trek reboot movie. I thought it was pretty good.
No, it was fun. But he's not a great director.
No. I didn't. No, correct. I want to say more on it, but it's just going to go down a whole different
hole. It's a whole other thing. I don't like lens flare that much.
It's coming March 24th. I will say, however, David,
I did watch snippets of this, by the way. Okay. I just didn't sit down and watch it because I started it and went, I'm never going to watch this show. This has nothing for me. What am I doing? And I just turned it off.
Halo has a couple things that people recognize it for, David.
Yes.
Big I was going to say, big set pieces.
Gregorian Chance.
The Master Chief, and its soundtrack. For the Halo trailer, they could have picked any number of musical pieces to put to this from the Halo soundtrack. But what they do instead is they do that fucking thing that you specifically can't stand.
Yep, and I bring it up every time, and it's when I turn the trailer off.
They took an 80s pop song, in this case, In the Air Tonight, did a minor key mellow cover of it and put it toward the not metal mellow cover of it and put it at the end of the trailer. Now, that song has been covered to great effect before. I look at the Dead Space 3 trailer. I think that song worked very well with that because the lyrics of that song matches Isaac Clarke's struggle. David, what the fuck does In the Air Tonight have to do with Halo at all?
I can feel the reach coming in the air tonight.
No, I hate this. I like, normally I don't get as upset about that as you do, but this specifically set me off because it's fucking Halo, and you didn't get any of Marty O'Donnell's soundtrack at all. Now I get Bungie and Marty O'Donnell can't stand each other right now. They're actively fighting each other in court over and over and over again.
The people that make TV and movie trailers assume that all audiences are too fucking stupid to actually enjoy anything unless they forcefully cram an 80s pop music cover or an unexpected musical cover, is the way I always like to phrase it, down your throat. Oh, wait, that drum beat sounded kind of familiar. Is that... Oh, yeah, of course, it's Blondie. Why not?
Yeah.
It's just a fucking thing. And it's also in movies. I went to the theater to watch Spider-Man when I went to see that movie. There was 3 trailers back to back to back that legitimately did this thing. Where it played some random fucking like 80s or 90s song. And I caught it on the first 3 notes and went, I'm never watching this movie on this alone.
We have some comments in chat that relate to games and movies that I want to get to before we talk about the 2 upcoming things. Stuffy Twitchy says that the following games have yet to have the streaming series treatment: Myst, Far Cry, and Grand Theft Auto. So Far Cry didn't have the streaming treatment, but they did make a movie on it by everyone's favorite director, Uwe Boll.
Oof.
There is a Far Cry movie that exists.
That's not a film that's safe for human consumption.
Myst, I want to say there have been talks of adapting Myst to TV. I think. But this was a while ago. I'm not positive. Grand Theft Auto, I mean, it's Grand Theft Auto. People will do with that what they want. Wilson's Corner says, as someone who wants to get his foot in on both doors, producers want to make video game movies. As who's got his foot in both doors, producers want to make video game films. They know that game universes sell, and producers don't like to gamble with their money. I expect many things like Free Guy to come out in the following years where they copy a video game, but not really. Also, please don't remind me of the Kelvin. It made me not like Star Trek until I watched The Next Generation last year. Kelvin, by the way, is the Kelvin timeline, the J.J. Abrams timeline.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Also, the final point Wilson's Corner makes, the trailer team and the film team are completely different, so this could be a marketing issue rather than the actual project. That's understandable, but fuck marketing people if this is the way they're gonna pitch things.
Then you have a bad marketing team.
Have a conversation.
Like, have some knowledge of what you're working on.
Yeah. Or is literally every single TV show and movie using the exact same marketing team? Oh, well, cool. Let's pick a song and jam it in here for no fucking reason.
Halo's not the only thing that got some TV love this week, though. We have 2 more things coming up. This one's via the Hollywood Reporter. X-Men scribe David Hayter boards TV adaptation of EA's American McGee's Alice game. Now,
you mean Solid Snake himself, yes. David Hayter.
I swear this TV series has been in development for like 20 years, even though the game's not 20 years old. I swear I have heard talks of this before.
Is American McGee's Alice not 20 years old? Because it feels 20 years old at this point.
Ted Fryer's Radar Pictures has nabbed the rights to American McGee's Alice, the live-action game from publisher EA, and attached X-Men writer David Hayter to do a TV adaptation in partnership with Abandon Entertainment. Designed by American James McGee, the video game franchise includes 2000's Alice and its 2011 sequel Alice Madness Returns, and is based on Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass novels. No broadcaster or streaming platform has yet acquired the series, now in development. Hayter is best known for penning screenplays for box office hits like X-Men, X-Men 2, Watchmen, The Scorpion King, and Netflix's Warrior Nun.
Unless you played Metal Gear Solid, in which case you know him as the voice of Solid Snake.
Yes, absolutely. The TV adaptation will begin after Alice returns from the trip through the Looking Glass to find her house has burnt down and her parents died in the fire. After repeated attempts at suicide, she gets locked up in a mental institution and is slowly wasting away there before she is summoned to Wonderland again by the White Rabbit. But this time, it's a Wonderland gone seriously bad and gory. The only chance for Alice to restore her peace of mind is to find out more about the deaths of her parents, is to fight through Wonderland and free it from its evil powers.
If you never played Madness Returns, that game is dark as fuck.
It is. It's entertaining. This is good, and this feels like it's 10 years too old.
Yeah, because like I said,
yeah,
you said it. Alice was 2000, and Madness Return was 2011. This is 11 years past this due date.
Yeah, I this is like making an Avatar sequel now. It's
Right?
way past when the iron was hot.
Who would do that? That's a ridiculous notion.
I know. Only a complete moron who somehow has the top 2 of the 3 highest grossing films of all time would do something like that.
Only a complete buffoon with literally unlimited resources would do something so stupid.
Yes. Only a total jackass who has the love and respect of most of Hollywood, who can go, I'm making this, and everyone goes, here's some money, do it, would make something this stupid.
And can get checks printed by batting his eyes. Oh boy.
Okay, and finally on the movie front, this is via Variety. It Takes Two developer teams with DJ2 to adapt game for film and TV. Hazelight Studios has teamed with DJ2 Entertainment to adapt the video game It Takes Two for film and television, Variety has learned exclusively. The game follows the adventures of Cody, and May, 2 humans transformed by magic into living dolls. Trapped in a fantastical world, they must overcome their fractured relationship and a variety of challenges in order to return to normal. During their journey, they are guided by the love guru, Dr. Hakim. Okay, this might actually make an entertaining, cute little Netflix special or something like that.
Yeah. Is it gonna be animated?
It better be. It needs to be animated.
Right? Like,
if
it has to be.
Dolls that need to be animated.
It has to be some kind of animated. Yeah, I don't want some weird like live action plus CG or nonsense. Just make a cute animated show, and I will happily oblige.
And this could be something that's only like a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
It's not like It Takes Two has a deep like story at all. I'm not no offense to Jose Fares. I don't want him to say fuck GamePoints on the game. Actually, please say fuck GamePoints.
That would be amazing. We'll change that to our banner.
No offense to him by saying that, but it's not like it's a lore driven heavy game that needs an entire TV series to tell. You can tell this in a movie, and I'm down for that. That's actually
this could be a really cool project, and I'm excited that it's going that way, because again, this is like a cool indie project actually getting something, right? Like It Takes Two was not a huge video game. Yes, it won like game of the year at the Game Awards, but it was never a big giant AAA video game. So
I still maintain the only reason why that won Game of the Year, by the way, is because of Jose Fares.
I think he deserved it.
I don't think that game specifically is Game of the Year material for that kind of though. I think it won it because of his personality.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it.
To each their own.
I've got to take this next piece. We've got one upcoming event this week, and it is the PlayStation State of Play that was announced that is going to specifically focus on Gran Turismo. The one thing that could potentially sell me a PlayStation 5, but probably still won't, because you can't buy them anyway. The first 2022 State of Play arrives later this week, and we're all revved up for just over 30 minutes of new PS5 footage and gameplay details for Gran Turismo 7. Watch live February 2nd on Twitch or YouTube, starting at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. CET. And this is an announcement straight from the PlayStation blog itself.
Normally, I tend to co-stream the State of Plays, but this one I won't be, even if it's running during when I'd normally be streaming, because asking me to co-stream a Gran Turismo State of Play would be like me trying to get you to talk about Ayn Rand for 30 minutes. Like, it just doesn't work.
You know, I was going to come back with some Ayn Rand factoids, but you're right. I don't have 30 minutes of material. I can channel a book report from high school, but I'll run out.
Yeah, she wrote all those vampire novels. One of them got turned into a movie with Tom Cruise.
And then another one got brutally butchered into a movie that had the guy from Korn in it.
Oh, man. And we have one delay that I want to announce real quick as well before we get into new releases here. Battlefield's 2042 Season 1 has been delayed until the summer. And without reading all the marketing speak, it's because EA straight up said, hey, we get that this game's in a pretty shitty state right now. We're going to fix that before we release more shit to sell to you.
Yes.
So,
which is a good call.
Fix
your shit instead of trying to sell us stuff. Maybe do that in the first place next time.
Yeah.
And that'd be great. Also, shit tons of rumors that game might be going free to play, but we have nothing confirmed on that. So if that's something that y'all have heard, We're aware, but there's nothing concrete.
Yeah, I do want to play this game in about another year or so because I actually cracked Star Wars Battlefront 2 open recently. That game's come a long way from launch. There's actually
Yeah, no,
some
that game
there.
was free on Epic at some point, and so I put a few hours into it, and it's fun.
Yeah, definitely better than it was when it
DICE can make a good shooter if you give them a proper amount of time.
Right. David, the fate of Battlefield 2042 going free to play or not is still to be yet determined. Before we find out when that news comes, however, I need to be occupied with... This is a bad segue. Just to read new releases.
We do have new releases, and it is safe to say that it is the start of the floodgates. As last month ended with the release of a Pokemon game and a Monster Hunter game, this month is going to be an onslaught. Matter of fact, the new releases this week, I didn't even have to fucking Google. First up, Life is Strange Remastered Collection hits the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC. This is the full collection of all the Life is Strange shit. You could take a look at it and you could play it on the systems that they weren't previously released on, and also on some systems that they were already released on. But, you know, together. Life is Strange, I think you have kind of mixed opinions on it, but a lot of people really fucking like these games. They're story-driven adventure games. It's not quite a visual novel, but it's not quite a full video game, but a lot of people really fucking like this shit. And if you're into story-driven games...
They're very reminiscent of the Telltale games.
Yes, very similar to a Telltale game. A lot of people like them. If you're into story-heavy games and you've somehow never heard of Life is Strange, take a look. If you want nothing to do with something that's really just here to tell you a story, and instead you want to blow the heads off of zombies, Dying Light 2 Stay Human, as we mentioned at the top of the show, releases this Friday for the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC. It's got a big-ass open world. They had that weird faux pas where they said that there's over 500 hours of shit to do in this video game, although the actual story is closer to a 60-hour thing. But I guess if you want 100%, it's 500 hours. I don't know why the fuck anybody would say that out loud. That's so stupid. Like, do achievement hunters need to know how long this game's going to take? I guess, but they're all crazy anyway.
To be fair, that is a direct response to so much, because there's this crowd out here too that goes, "Why am I paying $60 for a 4-hour game?"
Yes.
So
and
you're
went to
damned
the
if
opposite
you do,
extreme.
damned if you don't.
Yeah, no, it kind of sucks that bit them, but for most people, this is probably going to be like an 80-hour video game to do a good amount of stuff. So have fun with Dying Light 2, Stay Human, starring Rosario Dawson. Look at that.
Oh, really? I didn't know she was in it.
Yeah, she's totally in it.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I will be trying to stream this, by the way, Thursday night if they release at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Sometimes games do like the midnight launch, and the West Coast gets it at 9. If that happens, that's normally when I go live. I'll be playing that. Otherwise, I'll try it next week.
Yep, but the sequel to the game that started this whole beginning of the year release fest.
Yeah,
we never had this problem before Dying Light 1.
Dying Light came out and made a shit ton of money for being a B tier, a good B tier, but still a B tier game. And suddenly everyone went, "Oh, game selling marks," you say?
Yes, and now everybody does it.
David, I know that this is the floodgate of the new releases, despite there being only 2 of them, but they're big releases coming out for certain.
Yes, there's obviously a bunch of like smaller indie stuff and other stuff, but let's be real. If someone's gonna buy a video game this week, it's probably one of these 2.
For sure. And I think as far as the titles we care about, that does it for new releases, which means that also does it for the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 296, and thank you all for showing up. If you were entertained by what you saw here, you know what streamers want if you want to support the show. Likes with notifications. Likes. God damn it, I'm screwing it all up. Follows with notifications, likes, bits, subs, all that good stuff. You know the rigmarole. There's a Discord you can join, link provided down there, along with all the other story links as well. If you're watching on YouTube or other social media sites, for Discord, we'll also have links to the stories as well too. You can follow the show at GamePoints PC on Twitter, David there at _Satori, and myself at CapitalistPig21. Thank you all for showing up. This has been GamePoints, and until next week, we're out of here.